Welcome to Enlightened Evolution.
I'm Cay.
And I'm Christina.
We're here to discuss the ebb and flow of our soul's healing and transformation through self-reflection, choosing intentionally, honoring thyself, and following your inner guide.
Thank you for joining this safe space with us. Hello, and welcome to Enlightened Evolution. Thank you for joining us this week with Cay and Christina. I always miss that part.
Good morning.
This week, we are talking about depression. And it couldn't be a better week to talk about it for me because I am very much so depressed. Before our call started, Kay got me laughing, so that was helpful. Because going into this episode, I was like, I just felt very low energy, and I was like, oh man, I hope I don't make a bad episode, but also it's relevant to the topic. So if you want to know what depression looks and feels like, here I am.
Well,
how are you today?
I'm good. Well, you look good from a physical
Do you
standpoint.
see these?
Your hair's
Maybe
done. You look fucking cute.
my hair is freshly pink. Although I'm surprised, like it's way pinker than it picks up on this camera, which is like it just looks strawberry blonde to me on this camera, but it in real life it's like pink. It's like almost as pink as this.
I can
I
see
guess
it.
not. You don't see how puffy my eyes are though?
I mean, that's all right. It's 9:00 in the morning. I got up like 2 hours ago. I don't feel
Yeah,
like I get ready for this. I'm throw my hair up, put a little bit of makeup on, and just get my coffee. I
Yeah,
don't feel
I
like
know.
my
I
eyes are.
normally do a full beat on my face. Today, I do not. My face hurts from crying, and it's swollen.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, but
I
you said you're
Go
good.
ahead. Yeah, I'm doing okay. Had like this huge burst of energy, and like I don't know if it was a huge burst of energy or just me being sick of my shit. Both. And so like yesterday I like deep cleaned everything in my main areas, like scrubbed baseboards, pulled out couch cushions, like everything. And then I feel guilty that I wasted it was beautiful outside. So I like wasted this day inside, but like I feel better and I'm going to continue with that today. And yeah, I'm good. Just been I mean, these kids are always in and out of my house between my daughter and her friends and Sonny and his friends. And, you know, so other than that, I mean, they're, chaotic, but happy.
That's good.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm doing good. I always just feel like I'm never organized enough. It's probably some type of problem, but it makes me happy once I see it, once I see things organized in bins in my linen closet. And
Yeah.
I don't know where everybody lives, but do you have Rite Aids in Georgia? Well, they're going out of business.
I was gonna say most of ours have closed. We had them, but most of them are no longer.
Yeah, and it's like 80% off right now. And I got this Tupperware, but it's not Tupperware brand. The lady next to me informed me.
Okay.
I know. Well, it's not the Tupperware brand. I was like, okay, well, it's still Tupperware. $20 on sale for 5, so I'm gonna buy 3 of them. It's like the bigs. That's like it looked like the Russian dolls. They were like big and they all stacked down to small. And there's like 5 containers in each. So I didn't need 3 of them, but they're $5. And then I got this round glass jars, the big ones where you can put like your pasta, your rice, your coffee, your sugar or something. And so that's going to make me super happy to do that today.
They had all that at Rite Aid?
Yeah, I seriously got so much shit for like $70.
Nice.
Everything was
I didn't realize I had all that.
It was like 60 to 80% off. I didn't either. I would never I would never have paid $20 for those Tupperwares.
Right.
So
we've been getting our Tupperware. Well, maybe not Tupperware. What else do you call them? Like a little meal containers.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
know
Tupperware.
what they're called. Okay. But our local Chinese restaurant, like, every time you order from them, they give
Yeah.
you the hard plastic lid, like, no more of, like, the cardboard boxes or even just, like, a styrofoam. It's, like, good Tupperware that lasts through the dishwasher, and I'm like, "We'll order there when we need we have, like, 20 of them.
I I do. I don't know. I love my Tupperware and I like when it's organized even though it's like the hardest thing for me to keep organized.
Yeah. I have a like, I stack my bowl parts, whatever, the
Mhm.
bottom parts. I have a fairly decent, I mean, we have so many different sizes, but I stack them, and then I have this little thing I got from Dollar Tree. It's like a little organizer, I don't know, and I put all the lids in there and,
Oh,
like, kinda stack them in there.
that would
It
make
makes
my
it
brain
easier
happy.
to,
Yeah.
yeah, because the lids and the tops, and
Mhm. God, don't
I
tell me that.
found keeping them separate.
I said I wasn't gonna spend money today, and I could just go up to Dollar Tree.
You might have one of those around. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know how to describe a little basket. It's kinda like a little rectangular basket.
Yeah, I might,
I
actually.
don't know. I love Dollar Tree.
Me too.
All right.
Okay.
Well, let's get into such a fun topic, depression. This was a listener request, but it is something that so many people experience, so it's good that we're talking about it. Bring some light to it. Maybe you've experienced depression and you're not really sure if you have, or you're not really sure if you need to do something about it. So hopefully we can help clarify some of those things today. But just a general description of what depression is, it's this persistent feeling of sadness, loss of interest, hopelessness. It can be called things like major depressive disorder, clinical depression. It affects how you feel, how you think, how you behave. It can also lead to other emotional and physical problems. And it also interferes with your day to day activities. And it can lead to you possibly feeling like life isn't worth living. It's more than just a bout of blues, it's kind of this longer lasting thing that really affects your day to day. And this definition that I got, I don't know if it was Mayo Clinic or who, they have really great resources for,
I like Mayo Clinic too.
yeah. It says that your depression is not a weakness, but it's also something that you simply can't snap out of it. And it may require long term treatment, maybe medication, psychotherapy, both. We're going to get into, some of those things you can do to help treat your depression. I think you mentioned in our anxiety episode that you've experienced depression before.
I have, and I like this topic because I didn't realize that there was so many different categories of depression, and I've experienced a few different categories depending on the what I was going through different parts of my life. You mentioned major depression, which is that clinical depression, and it's the one that really you can't it's really hard to like stay consistent with working, you or resting or learning or eating or enjoying life or any of that. It has a huge impact on every single area of your life. And then there's you just also said the persistent depression, which major depression, it was saying that it lasts, I mean, it can last for years and it's almost impossible to get through it without some type of treatment or therapy. Maybe your hormones are off or something and you need, medication or something like that. Where the persistent depressive disorder lasts anywhere from like a week or a couple years and it can come and go, you know?
Mhm.
It
I
comes
would
and
say
goes.
that probably aligns with what I experience. I can go
Yeah.
years without having a depressive episode, and then just out of nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I've more so in the past, I've definitely experienced this. I think that when I'm single, it's much less likely for me to experience this, and
Isn't that interesting?
mhm, and when I'm not during the luteal phase of my cycle, which I think I've pretty much got that under control now, just being aware of my body and, like, accepting that and giving myself what I need during that time, but that's such a short time out of the month, and once that fades, I can quickly tell, like, that's not depression, that's my cycle, but
Mhm.
yeah, when I'm in a relationship, and we're gonna get into attachment styles in the next episode, so it'll fall right in, but when I'm in a relationship, depending on our attachment styles and, how much I feel seen and heard or feel valued, yeah, it can get very depressing, going through the
Mhm.
motions of a relationship. They and I'll send you the link so you can attach to this episode. It was on Pinterest, it was super helpful. Temporary depressive circumstances, and they have a 3 of these broken down. There was a psychotic depression, which happens in some form of psychosis. This seemed kind of extreme to me, but
Mhm.
people start to have paranoia, delusions, hallucinations, and within these hallucinations, they just feel completely hopeless, like life is just ending for them, and but it doesn't last very long. It'll last maybe like a week or 2,
Okay.
but usually comes back, like, it's usually not just a once in a lifetime occurring thing, which maybe
Mm.
there's more underlying mental health issues with that. Postpartum depression, which I've experienced personally, especially with my
I was gonna
son.
ask you.
Yeah, it's much more than just the baby blues, and this is felt, by like 10 to 15% of women all over the world probably once they after they have a baby. I think that depending on the kind of support system you have and financial security, it for me, if I personally, if I would have had a better situation when my son was born, I don't think I would have experienced postpartum as
Mhm.
bad because with my daughter, I didn't have it.
Ah,
And I had her with somebody else. So
yeah.
that's kind of what I attribute that to. But this could last like a month up to a year. And it's just feeling completely helpless. If you ever feel like you want to hurt yourself or your baby, please talk to somebody and get help. It can get that extreme.
Yeah. I've heard so many people I feel like more and more women are getting comfortable sharing and talking about their experience with postpartum,
Yes.
which is important. It's important to talk about your own experience so that others can feel seen and not feel like, "Oh, well, I'm just this
Mhm.
burden," or I'm, you know, whatever the thoughts that come in.
Yeah, I just like in my mind it's like I'm not doing a good enough job. I'm not a good enough mom. My son deserved better and everything. And I did go talk to my doctor about it. She prescribed me Paxil. And I
Mm,
think I took it and I don't know, I can't remember if it was one of those things that have to get into your system or
yeah.
probably.
It takes weeks.
Yeah, I took it for 2 days. I've never taken another medication for mental health ever again besides,
Why
like,
did you
natural
stop?
things. It made me extremely tired and much more depressed. Like, I was
Mm,
already tired, already lacking
mhm.
sleep. I just felt like I took a Tylenol PM when I took it. That's all.
Yeah.
And I'm very sensitive, so I was like, "Oh my god, there's I'd rather just be depressed actually than take this medication." It was
I took
terrible.
Paxil as well and did not find it helpful.
Yeah, and maybe I could have given something else a chance, but I just, I don't know, pushed through it and made lifestyle changes and pulled out of it, but it wasn't for me. The next one in the temporary depressive circumstances was seasonal affective disorder.
Oh,
And
yeah.
this is like marked by the winter months and when you're getting that less natural sunlight. And a lot of people are really successful with like this light therapy. They have like the face light devices.
Oh, like the ones you actually put on your face?
Yeah, and it gives you I guess it
Oh.
gives you vitamin D or I mean, I take some vitamin D since I'm in Michigan, during the
Mhm.
winter time, and I think that's probably helpful, but I do feel so much better in the summertime when I'm getting that natural sunlight, and I crave it.
Oh, yeah.
I crave that sun. Do you feel like you've
I
gotten like, since you've moved to Georgia, do you feel like
Yeah, when I was in Michigan, I didn't even realize that I was experiencing seasonal affective disorder, and then when I got to Georgia and we have sunshine all year round. Like, right now, it is a rainy week, and that's
Mhm.
rare here. I would say 80% of our day even on a rainy day here, you're gonna see the sunshine at some point.
Yeah.
So, it's really decreased here for sure.
Mm. My aunt moved to Florida kinda recently, and she says the same thing after living in
Yeah.
Michigan for forever.
I highly and that's one thing my mom does, like, she knows that she has seasonal affective disorder, so
Mhm.
in the winter months, I'm not condoning going tanning, but she'll do that to help boost her serotonin
Mhm.
and give her that vitamin D level, it's maybe not the best method, but if it works for you, you gotta it's like, "Okay, do I get skin cancer or do I have horrible depression and possibly, might not wanna live anymore?" So,
Right.
you gotta kinda weigh your options.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think anything in moderation is probably okay.
Yeah.
I They put bipolar disorder on this list. Also could be classified as like manic depressive illness. It's not as common as major depression or persistent depression. It's more so I guess they do classify it in all itself, but because there is that you go from this manic phase to the depressive phase. That's why they put this one in that category.
Mhm.
But I don't think I've ever experienced this, but I do feel like there's
No.
times where I have like maybe I shouldn't call them manic phases. Like right now I have a lot of energy and I'm in a super good mood and I want to clean my whole house, but I don't have that fallback where I'm like that big drop in mood and
Right.
energy.
And that's something like, I experienced that as the natural flow with my cycle, but I
Yeah.
didn't know that at the time, and so I went to my therapist once and I was like, "Can we talk about bipolar? Because, I do experience this low every month, and then, afterwards, I do get more energy and I'm able to do the things that I wasn't able to do," and she's like, "Okay, I need you to map out these feelings in line with your cycle." And so I did that for a few months and I came back and it aligned exactly with,
Mhm.
my cycle and getting that depressive right before you begin your period. And then after, when you get towards that ovulation phase, you're getting all that energy. She's like, "You're not bipolar. This is just your natural hormone cycle." And I was like,
Yeah.
okay.
I asked my therapist that the other day. I was like, "What did you I can't remember if I told you this or not. I was like, "What is my
Mm-mm.
diagnosis?"
Oh, you did?
Did I tell you this?
No, what did
No.
she
I
say? I
asked
mean, if
her.
you
I
don't
was
mind
like,
to share.
"No, I don't mind sure." I said, "Do I have, like, extreme anxiety?" I was like, "What is, my di" she's like, "PTSD is your diagnosis." I was like, "Oh, okay. That makes
Makes
sense."
sense.
She's
Yeah.
like, "You're not borderline. You're absolutely not bipolar." She goes, "You just have, you know" she's like, "You have more complex PTSD, but for sure." And I was like, "Oh, okay.
You're
Well, I
having
don't"
a natural reaction to the circumstances that life has thrown at you.
Yeah, which is fine.
Yeah.
But I think bipolar is very hard. I've taken care of patients with bipolar,
Mhm.
and I very rarely are they not on any type of medication. I think that medications really help people that have bipolar disorder, and when
Have
they
you noticed with your patients that they are compliant with their medication?
it depends. Sometimes, I think it depends more so on well, I don't wanna say that. I was gonna say maybe, like, their support system. I find that people that have, like, been married for a long time or something, and someone's there helping them with their healthcare or their medications, that's when they're more compliant and more consistent.
Mhm.
But,
Yeah.
I mean, people fall off from taking their medications all the time. It just happens. Sometimes people lose their insurance or just don't have a ride to the pharmacy, and then it just kinda snowballs from there for them,
Oh, yeah.
and which is too bad that we don't have more resources or home delivery. I wish everyone could just get their meds delivered. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Amazon is so readily available for 24-hour delivery. Why can't everybody just have that for their meds, you know?
And I think Amazon is working on a pharmacy delivery system as
Nice.
well. I've experienced with someone, a family member that was bipolar, they did not wanna take their medication because it kept them from feeling the highs of the manic phase,
Mm.
and they really thrived in that manic phase, but they no longer had the highs or the lows. They were stuck in this middle area that they had never really been before, and it felt very foreign, and it didn't feel like they were themselves, and I totally can understand that.
Oh, yeah. I think that would be so hard. I think if I experienced that, I probably wouldn't take my meds either because I love my days when I feel great, and I would try to harness
Right.
that as long as possible.
Mhm.
Hmm. I have dyse dysthymia, dysthema, dysthymiA. It is a less
Dysthymia.
dysthymia, thank you. It is a less extreme form of depression.
Oh.
Which I feel like this is the one I resonate with most. It can have some long-lasting symptoms, but they don't severely impair you from your life's responsibilities, but just basically prevent you from functioning at your highest level of energy that you could have. Uh, I
Okay.
I think lifestyle changes probably help with this form of depression the most. It's like the mild form of depression, and honestly, like, we're all human. I don't know any human that wouldn't say, I think everyone suffers from some form of depression at some point in their life.
Absolutely. We all encounter losses. Grief and depression go hand in hand.
Yeah,
It's,
oh, absolutely. Absolutely, and
so
watching someone else experience something hard in their life that you love or
mm,
that's hard for me too, when someone else is experiencing so much grief and you're just helpless to make them feel better.
absolutely. When Jordan was going through it, when he lost his mom, it
Mm,
was just like, I know that there's nothing I can do but be here for him, but it was so hard to see him suffer through that.
yeah. Well, you've lost your dad, so you know how it feels, and just sit
Oh,
there and love
yeah.
him through it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
Is that
for
all the different kinds?
Yeah, that's all the different kinds. I have things we can do to feel better.
Should we talk about maybe some of the symptoms of depression?
Sure.
I think a lot of people are familiar with like the sadness. One of the biggest things for me is more of like a hopelessness. It feels like I don't have like there's so many things I need to conquer and I don't have the fight in me anymore to continue to fight those things. So it feels like this hopelessness. Some people get angry when they're depressed and irritable and they take it out on the people around them. A very common symptom is just having a loss of interest in the activities that you normally enjoyed. Um, Definitely a loss in libido as well. Some people experience sleep disturbances. It's really characterized by like a low energy feeling. So you might not be doing the things you used to do. You might have a decrease in appetite or a significant increase in appetite. It can go either way for people. What are some other ones we've got here? Trouble concentrating and thinking. That's one for me is like just trouble making decisions because it
Mhm.
feels like no matter what I'm in, no matter the decision I make, it's going to be the wrong one. So that's the story that my brain tells myself when I'm
Yeah.
depressed is like, why even make a decision? You've made all these bad decisions, and it's kind of this like where you get down on yourself. And for some people, it can lead to thoughts of suicide. I know I've experienced that in the past. I'm not there right now, so don't worry, but I've definitely experienced that in the past. It's very real.
Yeah, it is. I think that I definitely resonate with not being able to stay focused on one thing. and the lashing out when I'm depressed. Anxiety and depression fall hand in hand with me. So I don't know if it's my anxiety triggering my depression or my depression triggering my anxiety. But I know
Right.
that if I'm a list maker. So at the beginning of the day, I sit with my coffee and I make my list. And that's still a peaceful time for me. But it's when I'm going through those depressive episodes when I have to get up and then, start taking action. I get very like scatterbrained. Like I'm sitting here doing the dishes and halfway through, I'll like stop and just go do the laundry because it's like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe I haven't started my laundry yet." And it's just like I feel like everything around me is just crumbling. That's what it feels like to me,
Mhm.
like my world's just crumbling and it's literally over like dishes, laundry, and not cleaning out my fridge.
Right. Yeah. Like, if we were to stop and, like, think it through and think, "This actually isn't that big of a deal," and maybe that's some of the self-talk that you have, but it feels
Mhm.
very real in the moment.
It does. I even if But this is how I love how self-aware I am now and in tune with how I feel because even in those moments when I know exactly what I'm experiencing and why and know that it's just like a little phase right now and then maybe tomorrow or the next day after that I'll feel better. It doesn't matter how much I talk to myself. I still physically feel it doesn't change. And I think that's what's the
Mhm.
most frustrating part for me is sometimes the self-talk doesn't necessarily help all the time.
Mhm.
I've heard people say things like, "Oh, it's it's a choice to be depressed." Like, not no, it's not.
They have never experienced it, obviously. I love that for you that you've never experienced it. It's not a
It's
choice.
not a
Nobody would
choice.
choose to feel this way.
No, it's not a choice. And I do agree with there is certain things that you can do to make yourself feel better, but in those moments when I'm, like, having those self-talks and I'm feeling like that, I give myself more grace and I start asking myself, like, "Okay, have you drank enough water? Have you ate any protein yet? It's 2:30 in the afternoon and you drink a full pot of coffee. What could be
Mhm.
helpful for you right now?" You
Right.
know? And even after that, I might physically feel better because I've nourished my body, but I don't it doesn't really change having that scatterbrain and feeling like that hopelessness, like I'm not doing enough today or things aren't good enough today.
And that's a good idea. I didn't have it in my notes, but maybe creating a checklist. I'm sure there's probably some available on Pinterest of like, I think I've seen them before. When you get in those depressive episodes of having this checklist you can reference and like, okay, did I drink some water today? Have I had a meal? Like just simple things that
Mhm.
you might not readily think of that you can go to and like look at, not have to think about it and say, okay, I'm going to try this, this, and this. Maybe it helps, maybe it doesn't, but at least you're taking some sort of action. And I think that alone will help some.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I had to accept that there was things in my life I needed to add and take away just as much to be, to help with my depression, like less junk food, more healthy food, more water, less pop, alcohol, and coffee, less being on my phone and more sleep, and especially being on your phone like right at night before you're about to go to sleep. I know, like, I don't have a problem falling asleep usually, but it has to do something to my sleep though, being on my phone screen, like, right before I go to bed.
Oh, yeah. That's one of the things that showed up was to reduce your screen time before bed.
Mhm.
I don't know the science behind it all, but it's definitely something that is being researched and is showing that will disturb
Yeah.
you.
Implementing a workout routine, even to 10 or 15 minutes. My whole life, I wish I was more consistent with this. I am at the point where I'm just going to accept that I am who I am and I'm not going to work out every day, but I want to be that person that works out every day and like my obliques show. You know?
Girl, yes, I have a friend and she posts actually, I have multiple friends that are, like, in the gym every day. One of my best friends, she'll send me a snap every day when she's at the gym, and that I mean, I'm so inspired by it, but my ass is still not at the gym, but I love it.
Yeah.
I'm, like, living vicariously through her. I'm like, "You are doing amazing." And then this other girl, she goes to this, like, kinda upscale gym near me, and I love seeing her pictures she posts in the gym, and I'm like, "Should I get a membership?" So I'm at this point where my with myself because like, I think it would be fun to have a membership there. They have, like, free yoga classes, Pilates, all these different things.
Mhm.
I have, like, told myself in order to get a gym membership, I have to be consistent at home before I go there, because if I can't even be consistent at home, I'm gonna pay for a gym membership and not use it because 'cause I've done that before.
Same.
My I will say my doctor, so I went for my annual physical. And she, of course, they ask how much activity you have. And every doctor before has always been like, you have to have 30 minutes a day of exercise, 30 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day, even if it's just walking. Like, it doesn't have to be intense cardio. And I told her, I was like, I'm not getting 30 minutes a day. I said, some days I get 10 minutes, some days I get zero, some days I get a couple hours. She's like, you know what? Don't make it so hard on yourself and feel like you're a failure because you didn't get the 30 minutes. She's like, try to reach for getting 150 minutes in a week. So maybe some days you can do more, maybe some days you don't have it in you. And having that more of a weekly goal instead of every single day, I have to have this 30 minutes.
Mhm.
I like that. I was like, okay, that seems
Yeah.
more doable.
I was also watching this personal trainer, I don't know, blog video, something, and I remember them saying that just going to the gym, because 'cause you're like, "Okay, I gotta go to the gym, I gotta stay here for 45 minutes, and I gotta work out." Like, if you don't do that, that could be overwhelming to even think about, and you're there, you don't know where everything is, you just feel weird being there, which is kinda how I felt, and then people looking at you.
Yes.
Maybe it's different for men and women, but I don't even want anybody to talk to me, and usually it happens, so that's another thing, and so it's just but when I was going, I had a girlfriend at work going with me, which helped, but she doesn't like to go
Yes.
at 4:30 in the morning, and so our schedules didn't really coincide, but I did cancel my membership because I was wasting it, but, when I first started going and I was able to be consistent for a little while, I would go there and, like, at first, I only went for 20 minutes. And then or, like, walked on the treadmill the first time, and then the second time only went for 20 minutes, and then it's just, like, going there, showing up, and getting in the habit of just walking in.
Yeah, just getting
Mhm.
yourself there in general is one of the biggest struggles.
Yeah, it is. But I hear you about be consistent with yourself at home first before going and doing that.
For me, like, some people might think, "Okay, if I buy a gym membership, paying for it monthly is gonna force me to go." It don't. I will pay that and not go and not show up.
Yeah, not me.
A new goal I've set for myself is I have to walk a mile every day, and so I have a very, like, compact treadmill in my house. It was, like, fairly inexpensive. I wanna say around $200 on Amazon. And so on the days where it's raining or it's 98 degrees outside, I'll walk on that. And then if it's decent out, I'll walk outside. So that's my new goal that I'm sticking with.
Mhm. That's a good one. Let's see here. I put I said this earlier, but being in an unhealthy relationship, I've let those go, friendship or romantic or otherwise. And when
Mhm.
it comes to like friendships, less is more for me. And I mean, now there's just nothing I will accept if it feels toxic from a romantic partner or doesn't feel safe and makes me depressed in any kind of way that's not anything I would even involve myself with now. But I think that that was a huge impact on my depression was just being in those relationships that don't make you feel, worthy to be loved.
Absolutely. And honestly, that's where my depression is really I've talked very highly about my relationship on here, and in the majority of it, it's great. But we're human. We struggle with things.
Mhm.
And that's where my depression lies right now. So just to be transparent, but it does affect and looking back at, other depressive episodes that I've had, it was usually around a relationship and the issues within that because we're getting it, like you said, we're getting into attachment styles in our next episode. And I have historically put so much value in how my partner perceives me and
Mhm.
values me, and less in how I value myself. And so I find that that's when I get into those depressive episodes, and I have to go back to finding my value within myself.
Yes. How do you do that? Like, what's the best way do you think we
It's hard when you're in the trenches and your
Mhm.
brain is telling you the story of how you are a failure and how you're not worthy of love, and it's giving you this long list of all the reasons why someone wouldn't want to love you, and then you're pulling from experience of the past of examples where you were unloved by people.
Mhm.
I My therapist gave me the simplest thing, and it's something that I do go back to whenever I get into these episodes. Is one of the first things I talked to her about was not feeling worthy of love. And she had this conversation with me where she was like, "You are worthy of love simply because you exist. There's nothing else to it. Simply because you exist, you are worthy of love." And I try to bring my mind back to that simplicity of it and not focus on my failures and the demons that I'm fighting.
Mhm.
They're always going to be there. I do also, because I've been able to pull out of depression before, I reflect on those times of like, I like this too shall pass. I know that it's something I'm going through right now, but I do know it's going to get better. And I still have that glimmer of hope.
Yeah. Absolutely, it will get better. You say glimmers, but that's on my list of be mindful of the glimmers and the small moments to be grateful for. And you keep
Yes.
focusing on those little moments every single day that make your life worth living or that you enjoy, like waking up and drinking coffee in peace and just going to bed in a safe home. Hopefully you have that. And I think those small things keep me. It's just you built this, when I build this momentum in my brain of being mindful of everything I'm grateful for, I think that's always helped me too. To,
Yeah.
like it could be much worse. And some people are like, well, it could be much better. Well, yeah, but it could always be much, much worse.
It could. And I feel like that is it's a controversial way to look at things sometimes because, like, I don't ever like, no one else should come to you and be like, "Oh, well, you it could be much worse." But you
Mhm.
yourself, if you're able to step into that
Yeah,
and
this I do that for myself. I don't think I
right.
would ever say that to anybody else.
Right, yeah. We mentioned getting out in sunlight, that's definitely on my list. One thing that I have done, like, when I was suicidal and I was aware of it, it's interesting because, like, very much of me did not wanna be alive, but I also, like, had this part of me that was self-preservation,
Mhm.
and so I asked a friend to spend the night with them. I was single at the time, and so I didn't have anyone living with me, and I asked if I could stay the night at my friend's house because I didn't wanna do something to harm myself. And so if you have resources like that, people you can go to and say, "Hey, I don't feel like I can trust myself today. Can I come and be with you?"
Yeah, for sure. If you have a good support system. And I think depression tells us that, like you said, we're unworthy, nobody loves us. But deep down, those people in our life that we can love, that we can count on, that you could call with anything, you're not a burden to them. Call them, let them be there for you.
Absolutely.
Purging my thoughts in my journal have
Mm,
helped me. organizing my space. Sometimes when I'm, like, deep in my depressive episodes, I'll look around and I'm like, "Oh my god, no wonder I feel like shit." Like I was talking about earlier, just, like, deep cleaning and getting everything organized. If you get bouts of energy, just to, set your timer for 15 minutes and just pick up your space, make your bed. That that
Take a
help.
shower.
Yes, self-care, take a shower.
Some days that's all you can do. It's just
Uh-huh, that's right.
one thing, take a shower.
Yeah. I take melatonin to sleep if you're having trouble sleeping. I know we mentioned in our last episode about microdosing.
Mhm.
That I read could be super helpful. Magnesium at night.
Mhm.
There was a lot of hype about 5-HTP, hydroxytryptophan.
Oh,
It's a natural supplement. It's supposed to help raise serotonin levels in the brain and just regulate mood and behavior and have a positive effect on your sleep, your mood, your appetite, and even pain sensation.
ooh.
Have you ever, which this is kind of a sidebar, but when you're on your period, do you feel like your pain tolerance is much lower for other parts of your body? Like, I won't wax my bikini line or
Uh,
my underarms when I'm on
yeah.
my period because it hurts so much more.
Yeah, everything hurts.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, if you do get those bouts of energy during your depression, I found that planning ahead helps out a lot with, like, work uniforms, outfits,
Yes.
especially if you have, like, a demanding job or family, maybe some meal prepping. Make your to-do list. When I'm scatterbrained, I have to have my to-do list to go back to just to make sure that I'm staying on track or just for validation that I can complete these things today that I need to complete. And sometimes the best thing that you can complete is just taking a shower and resting and staying alive.
Mhm.
Like, sometimes, depending on what spectrum you're on, those are wins too.
Absolutely. One of the things I tend to isolate when I'm depressed, and I will just stay
Yes.
home for days. My job allows me to work from home a little bit, and what I really need during those times is actually to get out in community. So I actually need to force myself to go to work, to be around my coworkers, to witness laughter and witness other people having a good time,
Mhm.
or maybe go to a coffee shop and just sit, have some caffeine, people watch, go to a park, get that sunshine, and also, watch some kids play and see
Mhm.
their laughter.
Disney movies,
Oh, yeah.
like the old school ones, the cartoons.
Mhm. I the show The Office has gotten me through multiple bouts of depression.
I can see why it's funny. I've seen a few episodes of it, but I have never been an avid Office watcher.
I've probably watched the entire series 20 plus
Are
times.
you serious? It's like the comfort
I'm
show
so
for you then.
serious.
It's like a comfort show.
Yes.
I have my
Yep,
comfort
I've
shows
seen it
too.
all, so I can play it and maybe fall asleep to it. It's kind of this, like, companion almost, but
Yeah,
it's funny, and so I definitely don't I wouldn't try to watch things that are sad during depression. You don't wanna make it worse.
right.
You don't wanna see what was that, ASPCA or whatever, the commercials they would do with the Sarah McLachlan song of, like,
The
the
animals.
animals in
Oh,
shelters.
in
Yeah.
the arms of the angels.
Avoid that.
Yeah.
Avoid that.
Oh my god, yeah. I don't watch any cable TV with commercials, so
No.
oh my gosh. Absolutely not. EMDR therapy has been so helpful for me. I can process much quicker now,
That's
get
awesome.
myself out. Yeah, I love it. I think any if you're experiencing anything like that, any feeling of unworthiness or hopelessness or give it a try.
Yeah, that's definitely getting into therapy is
Any
so
kind of
helpful.
therapy, yeah.
Mhm. Some people do need to go to inpatient treatment as well.
Mhm.
especially if you're struggling with a lot of what they do in inpatient therapy is getting you on the right medications, and also they bring in psychotherapy to it as well, so you kinda get into everything all at once. A lot of people get into depressive episodes, because they just have so many stressors, you know? You have kids, you have a job, you have all these things going on, and sometimes not to say that inpatient therapy is a vacation, but sometimes it is helpful to step away from all of that and just focus on your mental health.
Yes, when I was doing my psych rotation for nursing, I a lot of those people were going experiencing some form of grief and going through, like, a deep loss in their life and just couldn't handle anything else. Just had
Yeah.
that hopelessness, and so, yes, go get help, check yourself into a hospital. I think they keep you for 72 hours at the minimum just to do your evaluation. They do a lot of group therapy there, which is nice too. You're not the only one that's
Experiencing.
experiencing
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah.
You are not alone. Many of us experience it.
Yes, my love. So you are not alone. So if you need to vent today, voice text away.
I definitely will.
Well, do you have anything else for us today?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. You can find us on YouTube and Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to any of our podcasts.
Yeah. Thank you for listening. You can also get you said YouTube. You can get our full episodes on YouTube. We love y'all. Namaste.
Namaste.